Hello, I'm Michael Finn, holistic exercise and lifestyle coach, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about why we all need a coach. So, some people don't really know that I work a lot with athletes. Primarily, I work with my beat baseball team and all of those athletes. I work with some sprinters, I work with some senior athletes, some cyclists, some triathletes, golfers, tennis players, wide variety of things. So, as well as I work with a lot of people that I don't see super frequently. I'll only see them about once every 4 to maybe even up to 8 weeks when I am primarily looking at how they are maintaining technique and form and developing and improving to progress forward through their health and fitness goals. Most of that is through exercise and that sort of thing when we're in person, and then sometimes we'll do the nutritional sort of thing via phone, and sometimes we'll do the exercise thing through video as well. So I wanted to show you the importance of why it's good to have a coach and someone that knows what they're doing to look at you. And I'm going to use myself as an example. So because I video myself as you see on here on my YouTube channel, when I'm doing particular exercises, so I can take a look to see how I'm moving. But when clients come to me, they will start to alter their exercises that I give them to possibly make them a little bit easier for them and things like that. But what they're really doing is they're creating movement patterns that's going to lead to pain or dysfunction or loading other joints in ways that we don't want to load joints. So for an example, people will come to me and maybe we'll be doing a squatting exercise. And when they go off on their own and go practice their exercise, they'll be trying to get deeper into their squat. And instead of actually dropping their hips down more, they'll actually be dropping their chest down and starting to flex their spine, which can increase the risk of a spinal injury or a muscle strain or other things, as well as just creating a bad movement pattern that will lead to wear and tear on tissue in the body. So then I correct that and say, hey, we know we need to pay attention to that. And what I'll typically do is instead of saying, you know, we need to do it this way, I typically try to change the exercises that I use so that it encourages them to do it in a better way. And that way, it's not just me telling them, but by them doing a different exercise, they actually end up doing it in a better way. All right. So that's what I'm going to kind of show you here. So if you see the little picture of me here in the middle of the screen, this is actually a video. So if somebody in the sprinting world, so I work a lot with like speed and sprinting and things like that, because I'm a track athlete myself at the senior level. And so if someone looked at this picture and said, this is what we call the toe off position, and basically kind of our block position. If someone looked at it, they'd say, hey, well, this looks pretty good. So, and maybe that, my knee, my front knee here, where my cursor is a little bit low because this front thigh should be a little bit more parallel to the ground rather than up quite so high. But some of that just tells me that, yep, I just need to think about driving that knee up a little bit higher, as well as I need to think and check my flexibility a little bit. Okay, so if someone was looking at this picture that understood that, they would say, oh, this looks, fairly good, okay, for the most part. So one other little point is that my torso is just a little bit too upright. And what you really want is it just about maybe 3 or 4 degrees at most of more of a forward lean at this in the torso, and it's just going to allow my center of mass to get a little bit more in front of my hips, and that would allow me to put more power into the ground and propel myself a little bit farther forward on each step. Okay, now that is if we're just looking at this single picture here of the toe off position, but this is actually a video. So if I come down here and I click and I just go 1 frame forward, I'm actually going to go 1 more frame forward so that we can see it even a little bit better. So I'm going to go 1 more frame forward there. Now, so I'm actually now going to go back because I moved a lot in that 1 frame. Here we go. So now you can see my knee position really didn't change, but my foot was more forward than what it was. And that's because I have developed a habit that I'm working on breaking. I'm assuming I've developed this habit from running on really bumpy, beat baseball fields with a blindfold on at 20 miles an hour. And so I've developed this habit where when my knee hits that top position in the front of our running, my front leg starts to open up. And that's not what my front leg is supposed to do. But what I'm kind of doing is I'm trying to get my foot on the ground a little bit early so that I can feel the ground before I actually drive through the step when I'm running to base, because we play typically on some kind of bumpy, rough sort of fields. But that's not good for track because track is not bumpy or rough or uneven or anything like that. So when I'm running on the track, I really need to make sure that I don't open this leg up. And so you'll see as I go forward another frame, I'm opening that leg up even more and my knee really hasn't moved that much. And what I want to focus on is I would much rather have this shin still perpendicular to the ground and my knee coming back and focusing on the knee drive going back this direction. So what ends up happening is my leg actually ends up almost straightening out. I'll go forward a couple more frames before I even get to the ground. And this is what we call basically a power bleed. So I'm going to lose a lot of power in my stride because this is happening. And we don't want that to happen because that means that I'm going to run slower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell myself, this is what I would teach myself, and this is what I teach my clients, is a cueing technique. So I use some exercises, one of them called dribbling, where we're kind of doing like a little bit of a marching sort of thing, and I'll practice that. And I focus more on moving my knees up and down as opposed to my feet. I kind of let my feet just and my lower legs stay in the same position, but I move my feet up and down. So, and then my cueing point, even when I'm sprinting and even when I'm accelerating, will be more of moving my knees up and down. So, because even as we look, farther along, you'll just see if I go a little bit farther, it's like it ends up being in the right position as I get down there. Let's go a couple more frames. It ends up being in the right position, but I just really don't have that ability to really push. Now, there are some other little issues too, like my toe hits the ground way too soon rather than my foot. But once again, this is what we call mid-stance. And everything looks like it's in the right position. So I end up being in the right position in mid-stance, but how I got there wasn't conducive to generating the most amount of force into the ground to where I can actually go the fastest. And so this is why having somebody really look at what you're doing that knows what they're doing can improve this. And this is what I do with my clients all the time. I'm looking at whether they're doing, exercises with weights and say pressing things over the head, and is their spine moving correctly? I just worked with a lady, I don't know, a week or so ago, and she came in for the first time and she's having shoulder problems. Well, she's having shoulder problems because her upper thoracic spine is not moving the way it should when she moves her arms up and over her head. And so it's causing excessive strain on the tendons and the connective tissue in her shoulder joint. So by simply doing some cueing and some other exercises to help improve the mobility and the function of her upper spine, it allows her shoulder to work better. All right. So these are kind of the simple things. So like I said, there's that the toe got to the ground way too soon. That position looks really good. And even here you can see, if you look at my hips, my spine is right over the top of my hips, which means I really can't put enough power in there. I want just a little bit of forward lean. And in my, I'll do another one of these and I'll show you my start too as well. And in my start, I have these same sort of tendencies, and I imagine it's because the same sort of reason that I need to work on and fix, because it's happening on both sides, not just one side. So I go a little bit farther forward. My arm action is really good. You can see how big, wide open my arms are. And this is where I'm almost to that toe off or blocked position, which is right about there. And once again, knee quite not fully up high enough. So I want to work on that. And you'll see, like right now, this lower leg on this side is actually in a really good position. But here goes the problem once again on this side too. As I go forward a couple, boom, there's that knee opening out. And opening out before the knee actually starts to come back to strike the ground. So two things, as I fix this problem, this is my top velocity running, as I fix this problem, it's actually going to increase my turnover, which means I'm going to be able to run even faster and reduce my times in sprinting, as well as be faster down the long jump runway so that I can carry my speed across the board and jump farther. All right. So these are just some of the reasons why we all need coaches to watch us and to pay attention and to give us cueing, whether it is once every 4 to 8 weeks or whether it's on a regular week-to-week basis and things like that. All right. So if you got any questions, reach out to me. You can always subscribe to this channel, ring the little bell. You can text me, which is a great way to reach me. And you can find me on Instagram at MichaelFinn490. All right. Hope everybody has a happy and healthy day. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.